My name is Jante Simonovich, and I am part of Junior Marty College of Art and Design, and I'm part of the CBL learning project, or discovery project, challenge-based learning project. So far, I think what's been the most interesting or the most inspiring is the fact that there seems to be such a diverse approach to trying to find perhaps one answer. And to me, what's really interesting about this is the way that everybody is capable of coming together through all these different approaches, trying to arrive at one conclusion. And I think the inspiring portion of it is that there's a chance that if it does work out on our behalf, that there is a chance to really make a difference in an arena of education that I think is really desperately needed. Yeah, I think like the solutions to any problem, if you get to the root of it and you figure out what are the causative factors, that one starts to look at themselves and can reflect on those factors and start to make a choice, a conscious choice to do something about it, or change those factors that have caused them to feel a specific way. So if we can get to the reasons as to why motivation might be an issue for some and not for others, then perhaps we can determine, or we can focus in on those students that don't feel quite as motivated as the others, and figure out what can be done about it to change that.
Okay. Do you think there's a possibility that our solution could have a global effect?
I think if it's successful, yes. I think it would have to be proven.
Correct. And again, one thing doesn't work for everybody. We've talked about that too. But do you think we have the ability within this small college and this small project to actually come up with something that has greater effect?
Oh, sure. I think that's how anything is born. If someone has to research it, someone has to develop a plan, someone has to initiate the plan, and then whatever's extracted from that plan that's worthwhile can be applied to anywhere. So most definitely. It's got to start somewhere.
Our challenge is to inspire someone, and our big idea is self-identity. I think through learning about yourself and then realizing that you matter somewhere, finally realizing I matter, and discovering myself is okay, that's when you're inspired. That's when you bloom.
Right.
Interestingly enough, even though you guys are very inspired, motivated people, I have seen a change in all 6 of you when taking part in this challenge. So, tell me about that. The challenge itself, the actual Apple Pilot Challenge that they gave to us. How has that been inspiring?
Well, it's been inspiring because I think, I came at it initially with the thought process that I already consider myself pretty much an inspired person or a motivated person or what have you. And what it's causing me to do is to answer questions as to why I feel this way and why I act this way, and to really try to define where that came from. I never really thought about that process. I never really thought about the process of why do I think and feel this way. Everybody who does this or feels this way or performs this way always says, I've always been this way. I've been this way all my life. I don't know. So I guess what I think is interesting is that I always kind of chalked it up to my DNA or my family history or something like that. Although there's siblings of mine that don't behave in the same way or aren't quite as inspired or motivated. So I think what has interested me throughout this project is the fact that it's really started to make me look further into what are my motivating factors? Why am I motivated this way? What makes me different? And it's very interesting, the thought that once I define that and can figure that out, that perhaps we can help others reach that same level of potential. So it comes from the person who is already inspired, and it comes from, and our answers are going to come from the people who aren't. It's like a combination of both, which we never really thought about it that way before. Usually you think of finding a solution by asking the person who's already got the solution. Well, maybe it can go both ways. Maybe it be the people who don't have the solution and the people who think that they do, combining it.
I think the reason why you got to combine both is even though you have the solution, what you have found is your solution. which may not in turn be their solution.
Right.
So that's where it gets tough, and I think that's why you mean you're digging deep inside to understand yours, not so much that is then the solution for others,
Right.
but to combine yours with
Right.
those who don't feel that way, what they think their solution is,
Right.
and somewhere in the middle is probably the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's the problem with any of these science things, is that I don't think anything's set in stone. But you made a great point when you said, but someone's got to do it. So I'm not standing here saying that we are going to come up with the answer, but we're going to try. And we're going to come up with something.
Right.
And that's one step further than not doing anything at all.
Right. Why not make a positive step towards something positive, as opposed to just laying back and saying, I don't know why, it's just the way that it is. Maybe it isn't just the way that it is. Maybe there is a solution.